Feels real again, doesn't it? When you've got fans back in the ground, it feels like it's proper football.
Yeah, it does. You know, as well doing the Euros and just having them around, the energy it gives, and that's what was missing right from the start. You know, when you started, when this all started, and we had to watch the games without the fans. Instantly, that's what's missing, the main ingredient, the fans.
Also back, Karen Carney and Darren Lewis, and having watched the Euros and experienced the Euros with fans in the ground, it's incredible. We knew, but maybe we needed reminding just how important they are.
Yeah, I mean, I think I turned into a fan. It was like, be more pundit, less fan. But yeah, it was just amazing. Just the crowds, the energy, the buzz. Like Wright said, you've seen it from the players and the energy from both players, fans, management. I think it just made us appreciate how much we missed it. And there was just that joy. And I think we're going to see that in the Premier League this season. And I think it's one to look forward to.
Do you think we're getting that same buzz from managers and players that they're going to go back into full grounds now?
Yeah, I think we are. I looked at that footage just there, and most of the most compelling aspects of that footage involved fans, players going into the stands and hugging fans and jumping all over them. And I was thinking about the Euros and the feel-good factor, because normally when England are in a Euros, we do badly. A major tournament, we do badly with all the recriminations about how bad we are. But there's a lot of love for a lot of players. You looked at the North London derby last weekend and Bukayo Saka, the love he got from Spurs fans. You know, there is a widespread feel-good factor around the country, and that's only going to add to the excitement.
And big money signings as well, big name signings. The one that we're waiting for, we're just waiting for the announcement, but in their defence, Chelsea have been a bit busy winning the Super Cup, so that might be one of the reasons why it's not done yet. But Romelu Lukaku in the country, had his medical and is ready to go for Chelsea. What do you think?
Game changer for Chelsea. I think this tips the balance. I wouldn't say tips the balance in their favour, but this really gives them the opportunity to really go for City, and hopefully Liverpool will come back and do what they do. But he's going to score the goals that they needed. They were getting into... They solidified the defence, the way they had the three at the back with Kante and Jorginho in front, and then from there on, going forward, they seemed to just hit a ball. They couldn't finish teams off and, you know, really clinically just finish teams or score goals in those early periods that made them settle and then can go on to beat teams. But now with him, if it does happen, and when you look at his goal-scoring record, if it does happen, this changes the game for Chelsea.
Because we know they can keep clean sheets. This is what they needed to add. It feels like a missing piece of a jigsaw. Yeah,
I think that's the right term, really. I think their top goal scorer last season was 7, Jorginho, and how many of those were penalties?
All of them.
And you're thinking, wow, how have they managed to get, you know, top 4, win the Champions League without a centre-forward? And with that, you know, 7 goals, it's not good enough for Chelsea Football Club. And if you're going to compete for the Premier League, you've got to have a centre-forward that can put in the goals. They've got all the creative players around them. They've got everything, but just that one piece, exactly what you said. And I think it is Romelu Lukaku, power, strength, pace, you know, precision in terms of how he finishes. He's got everything. And you know what? When you're a defender, you wouldn't want to come against him. You know, like, he's got everything. And I think, you know, he's up there with Kane and Haaland, and he's one of the best strikers in the world.
And yet, when he left the Premier League, when he left Manchester United, it felt as though, certainly for some people, there was a bit of rebuilding of that Lukaku reputation to go on, and he's certainly done that.
Yeah, I've always been a big Lukaku fan ever since he played in the Super Cup. Didn't do so well in some people's eyes, and they farmed him out, and they didn't really give him a chance at Chelsea first time around. And when he went to Manchester United, there was all this nonsense about his first touch. I mean, obviously, that's the record that from last season that we can see on the screen that he'll easily obliterate this season, having come back and knowing the league. But I think a lot of people just talked him down, talked about his first touch, and his record was always good. He was always performing well for one of the most demanding managers in football, as Jose Mourinho. I think since going to Chelsea, Antonio Conte doesn't work for Chelsea anymore, but he's done him a huge favour because he's helped Lukaku to get leaner. If you look at him now, he looks much slimmer. And I don't think his game is based around his strength and his speed. I think his game is based around his vision. If you look at the way he links up with Lautaro Martinez, he creates space for Martinez to run into. He draws defenders out of position. He's got a fantastic ability, an awareness, if you like, of the picture around him. And these are all things that are going to help Werner score more goals and Havertz score more goals. And that's why they're quite quite happy to get rid of Tammy Abraham because they know that in Lukaku they've got an intelligent forward who is going to link play as well as score goals.
You know the thing as well, Kels, even with that the weight problem, something that they used to try and beat him with, that he wasn't training hard enough, and his stats he was showing. I remember he had to take a tweet down, you know, showing where he was coming in the running stakes, and unfortunately it didn't work out for Luke Shaw in that respect because it showed that he weren't so good. But when he went to Inter Milan, in the first 2 weeks they finally had a problem. When you look at the resources that a Man United have, and the same obviously Inter Milan have had, they found it in 2 weeks. You know, they're talking about his weight and that, and they've got all these physicians, everybody around them, the medical department, they couldn't find that. As soon as that happened, look at his performances, and he was still performing very well. You know, I think Darren's right, and people were just looking for ways of criticising him. And when you look at his goals at Man United, he's still got 28 and 70-something. And he still, for me, wasn't playing in the position that we've seen him play when he's most potent, when he was on loan at West Brom, when he went to Everton, when he plays for Belgium, and now what we've seen him do at Inter Milan. And that's what's going to happen when he comes to Chelsea. He's not going to be up there as the number 9, which everybody, just because he's a big player, he's got to play with his back to goal. He plays in holes where he picks the ball up and he runs at people. You know, he comes into areas where you've got people like, you're going to have people like Werner going, Ziyech, whoever, Mount going past him if that's the case, but he gets the ball in areas where he cannot be stopped. And if he gets that kind of creativity, he's going to cause problems.
Right, when he comes back, do you think he has to be a striker, demand more of the players around him, scream? You know, I kind of sense that, particularly having won the league in Italy, he's more assertive now coming back to the Premier League, and maybe it could be the case that he has to come and demand more of everyone around him, and he can do that because he's won the league.
Yeah, I mean, you see him when he plays for Belgium. When you see how he plays, he's orchestrating from up there. He's constantly pointing. He's doing that. He didn't do that at United. He done it at Everton. I think when he got his confidence, when he started to play really well at West Brom, he orchestrates. He knows where he wants it. And I think that he'll go to Chelsea. Everybody knows him at Chelsea. He'll know the surroundings. And I think he's coming back as a very big player. He was a lead player for Inter Milan, and I think he'll come with that same persona. And I think that's what he'll do at Chelsea.
I think that comes with trust from management, and also trust in your own ability, where you can go, I am going to roam out, and like Belgium, Kevin De Bruyne was always going for the middle, he played on the flank, as you said. And having that ability, when you experience is the best thing from a player, because I know about myself, I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses, I know how to tell the manager, this is more me. And I think you're right, he's gone away and he's gone and won, and he's got the stats, he knows about his health, he knows about his fitness, and you can only do that when you're experienced and you go through perhaps little periods where managers don't trust you or don't play you in a position, and you're right. No, you've signed me to be this player. Let me be that player. That's why I've got these goals, these stats, and you need this for you to win the Premier League, and I can bring you that. And that's not an arrogance. That's just an experience of knowing I can bring you that, but you've got to trust me. And I think that's what it will do.
Yeah, facts.
And on that, you're looking at bringing more confidence to the players round about him. And I know Darren was saying he thinks that this could lead to more goals for the likes of Werner and Havertz. If you're Timo Werner, though, and you've been brought into Chelsea to score goals, you've got one of the lower conversion rates in the Premier League across last season, and Romelu Lukaku comes in. Are you happy that you have someone who can work with you, or are you thinking, have you taken a knock because you haven't been able to do it for them?
No, I think that they're two different kind of strikers. I think Timo Werner had a brilliant season for coming in the pandemic and new club, the pressure at Chelsea. And yes, he missed chances, but at the same time, he's not that prolific in the way that how they want Lukaku to be. He scored a lot of goals at RB Leipzig, but he was up and down with the way he scores. I think it's 29 the last season and maybe 20 the first 18. It's that kind of scoring kind of trajectory he goes on. Lukaku is an out-and-out goal scorer. He is somebody that will chip in with the goals. Now, if he didn't miss the chances he missed, I don't think he gets the stick he gets. I think he plays with Lukaku simply because Lukaku, when he's doing his best stuff, at Belgium he's with Dries Mertens or Eden Hazard, or when he's at Inter Milan is Lautaro Martinez. He has that player up there with him. And I think that these two, especially when you look at some of the chances Timo missed, he'll take those this season. He's going to score more goals. And with them as a pairing as well, with Havertz and Ziyech, it's really quite frightening.
I think if they play in the two, I mean, it's old, and anyone who's watching is my age will know, but anyone who's under 21 probably won't know what on earth I'm talking about. But it reminds me of Romario and Stoichkov when they played for Barcelona.
Yeah.
You know, Stoichkov was big, powerful, strong, drew defenders out of position, was really intelligent with his movement. And Romario would just run into the spaces and score goals. And Werner's got that speed to do that. And one thing about last season that struck me was that even though he did miss all of those chances, I think his conversion rate was 8%, his head never dropped.
Never.
And that's a sign of a good... Well, it's not, I feel it's a heresy. I haven't said that. You know,
No,
you two.
But you're right. You're right. You're right.
You know,
Absolutely right.
His head, mentally, I think he's very strong. I think generally foreign players always need a season to adapt to the Premier League anyway. Yeah. So I never really judge foreign players by what they do in the first season. I think Havertz and Werner will be better players regardless of what Lukaku does this season, this time around. But I think Lukaku will help them both to be better.
And I think he was at his strength at Leipzig because he had Poulsen, someone to kind of link off. And maybe Lukaku will take the pressure off him just because he'll be that person to take maybe the media stick a little bit more in terms of, like, not stick, but in terms of we'll focus on him because he's the striker and he'll be the one where we go, he's going to get the goals and he can kind of do his own thing. And you're right, like, I think everyone forgets how difficult it is when you come in to a team like Chelsea with a price tag over you in a pandemic, how hard that is. You know, and we don't appreciate that sometimes as fans and as pundits, and we're like, wow, that's really tough, you know. And I think coming in now, I think they'll work together, and he's already alluded to that in his interviews. He's excited that Lukaku's come in, and I think it will take some pressure off him and he can just go and be free and kind of be that intricate player that we all want to see, and I think it'll be good.
Good point about the media, because I mean, the way it works is that if you are a big name, a record-breaking signing, the focus is on you. Full stop, whether it's broadcast media or print media.
That's not unfair, though, is it?
It's not fair at all, because, I mean, everyone wants to see what you got for your money. So Gareth Bale, for example, £85 million goes to Real Madrid, scores wonder goals in the Copa del Rey. That's where your money's gone. You know, scores goals, makes goals, uses his speed to get beyond defences, and he's a success. Paul Pogba goes to Manchester United, huge fee. People aren't getting the consistency. They see flashes of brilliance, but, you know, they're not necessarily... Sometimes people are criticising them unduly, but generally what they're looking for is to see what you got for your money. And that's going to happen with Grealish. That's going to happen with Lukaku. But as you rightly say, with Lukaku, the scrutiny on him and the focus on him will take the pressure off Werner and Havertz, and they can maybe
we just hope it's a positive, you know. It doesn't mean a negative, it can be a positive as well, that he's gone there and he's backed it up and he goes and does it again with a team where he kind of started with, didn't he, Lukaku? So it can be a positive as well. So I just think they'll work really well, and I think what Wright said, it's a game changer now for title contenders.
And as much as Darren was saying, we have to kind of give players who've come in from leagues abroad a time to settle. For Lukaku, this is familiar territory, not just the Premier League, but as Karen was saying, Chelsea as well. And,
you know, it's unfinished business at Chelsea. You looked at the record and the goal record. Chelsea was the only team he hadn't scored for. And it's the team that he wanted to play for. He went there with his hero was there, Didier Drogba. You know, and now he's come back, like I say, as the man. He's the man that's going to lead Chelsea to, hopefully, another Premier League title for them. And he's come back as a player that's rounded for me in every way. Now we know how he plays. We've seen how he plays. He's not coming and they're going to play him in a different way like we saw them play him at Man United. They didn't play him in the position that they could get the best out of him, but he still ended up with 28 goals. Now they're going to play him. They spent the kind of money on him that he delivers, and he's ready for that. He's a big player now.
He's not the same kind of player as Didier Drogba, but there is a similarity in that because they're both strong, big guys, that maybe their technical abilities, as Darren was saying, are kind of underestimated, that their intelligence is underplayed.
But this is what I'm saying. It always happens because when you are big in this country, I think it's in this country, you're seen as a target man. Them two they couldn't be any further from target men. You know, I think Didier Drogba kind of like revolutionised that number 9 up front with everything: intelligence, pace, skill, unbelievable goals. Romelu Lukaku is the same kind of player, but obviously different physically to Drogba. Maybe Drogba was quicker, you know, athletically. It seemed like he could leap tall buildings. But the fact is, the intelligence in both of them, in a way, when you watch Lukaku play, he drops up and he orchestrates play. Drogba could do everything as well. So, yes, it's just like a myth that, you know, the big players are just like target men. It's like Haaland. He's not a target man. He's a big man. He's not a target man.
I think you're right, actually, because I mean, even Peter Crouch had that, didn't they?
Yeah.
You know, big man. So people were quite surprised that he had a good touch.
Yeah.
Good touch,
Big man with a good
touch.
And that he was poor at headers for a long part of his career.
Exactly. And I think, you know, it's a failing, if you like, in our the kind of country that we see players who are big in a one-dimensional way. And that's part of the reason why I'm pleased that he comes back as a leaner figure. He's not big, stockish, you know, so everyone just sees or believes he will do one thing. You know, he's come as a guy who is almost refined, sort of Lukaku Mark II, if you like. And I think he will be a success because he will surprise people with his game intelligence. I think that'll be a feature of this season. I don't think you have that I don't think you have as many assists as he did in the Italian league under Conte. The season didn't start well under Conte at all, you know, but obviously it finished very strongly to get them the league. And you don't do that if you are not switched on mentally in terms of being able to make goals as well as take goals. Sorry.
No. I think you're spot on. And I think as well, playing for Belgium, Roberto Martinez, tactically, you know, one of the best up there. And I think when you're playing with Kevin De Bruyne, you talk about intelligence. And how does he get those spaces? How does he get those pocket spaces? Because someone's moving out of the way and allowing him to go in. And again, you know, Mertens, as you said earlier, Wrighty, it's about the intelligence. And I actually think, you know, it's the all-time goal scorer for Belgium. You can't ignore that either. And I think what Roberto Martinez has done as well, has added another dimension as well as in Italy. I think adding that and his tactical awareness and playing with those type of players, you can't ignore that either. So, you know, he's got every element, and you just want to go and let him unleash him now and go on, enjoy yourself, go and show everyone what you can do, which is.
So Chelsea then, towards the end of last season, seemed as though they might just drift a little bit in the league, and then they went on and won the Champions League to make sure they're fine for next season both ways. They bring in Romelu Lukaku. They solve potentially the big problem that they had, which was scoring goals. We know they've got a fantastic defence. That's a really astute signing. They've got an excellent manager. We saw the upturn since Thomas Tuchel came in at Chelsea. They're a threat.
Great goalkeeper
this year,
you know, as well in Mendy. 16 clean sheets. You have to feel that at some stage you're going to have to address Thiago Silva. He's 37 now. Christensen, you know, I thought he was brilliant in the Euros, but in the way that they're playing and the way he solidified Chelsea, he built from the back. They looked instantly after a few games under Tuchel. You know, somebody that even when you watch him doing his interviews, he's not interested in the noise. He's just focused on what he's doing. They instantly looked more solid. And now it was a case of the front men going forward and just executing. And what was happening was, especially when they were chasing games, they didn't seem to be able to get that goal, to finish teams off. People missing too many chances. So you look at Lukaku now, that's not going to happen. A lot of the games, they didn't even score in games. I think there was Arsenal, Wolves, Man United. There was games they didn't even score in. That won't happen with Lukaku. So there's games that Chelsea will probably, if it's not going well for you, you nick it 1-0 because of the calibre of striker that they've got now.
There's one thought that just occurred to me while you were talking and kind of going through those players in the Chelsea squad, particularly the attacking players. You could say that, you could describe a good fair few of them as nice players. They seem like, whereas Lukaku feels like he has that winning mentality and that what you were talking about, bringing that out in the players around them, just somebody occasionally to drag them through a game.
Yeah, it's a good point, Kels. Like, Lukaku's gone and...
It was brought by what you and Dan were saying.
That's what I do, Kels. I bring stuff out of people with my insight. No, you could see with Lukaku, you know, even when he was at United, everywhere he's played, he looks intensified. He looks like somebody who wants more. And you look at Chelsea and, you look at Timo Werner, it's very nice. Kai Havertz, very nice. Ziyech, they look very nice. Mason Mount, they look like nice guys. But what's we've seen with them is that they've got steel about them. The way, with the stick that they were under Frank, then their managers come in and then all the players, they reverted to what the manager wanted. They responded very well. They've got a mental toughness to them. Now they've got a striker who wants to prove a point back at a club that he got released from before he even got a chance to get going. You can see that that's going to feed into them, and they are all going to go. Every boat in the dockyard is going to be lifted now by him.
Could be a big season for Chelsea, this one.
Yeah, they've got a big squad. You know, you looked at them last night in the cup game, and you looked at their bench, and you're like, wow, how are those players not playing? How are those just coming back from the Euros and coming in, and they're going to compete? They will, and like Wright said, it's a game changer.
And you know the sign when you make a signing as well like that, Karen. You know as well, Darren. That signing excites the whole team, the whole club are excited by that because they know that we've got the last bit of the jigsaw because we struggled to score goals, we missed too many chances, and now we've got that. They literally can't wait to get going once that deal does finally happen.
I have two very quick things about Chelsea. I mean, I think Kepa was interesting, the way they brought him on, because they needed to get his confidence back up. You know, I'm sure you two could talk about the significance of that as a player. Say, coming on, everyone's eyes on you. Are you going to mess it up? You know, and then you save the decisive penalty and everyone's hugging you and you're a hero. But the defence does worry me, and they conceded in all 5 of their pre-season games. The Thiago Silva's interesting because he's 37. Is he 37 now?
37.
Now, he's not going to be able to play forever. And so who do you replace him with? And if he doesn't play, they just look like they had a bit of an attention deficit in the second half. And Villarreal were able to capitalise on that. And I just wonder this time round if that could be an issue for them.